U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia struck by Iranian drones. U.S. officials have confirmed more deaths. Oh my goodness. There's a dramatic escalation, if you don't know, in the ongoing conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran. Early Tuesday morning, local time, the U.S. Embassy compound in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, was hit by 2 Iranian drones. This attack is part of Iran's wave of retaliatory strikes across the Gulf region following the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iranian targets that reportedly killed high-ranking officials, including the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In the arms of the angel, according to the Saudi Ministry of Defense, the U.S. officials, the drone strike, the U.S. and U.S. officials, the drone strike caused limited fire and minor material damage to the embassy building. The facility, I thought it was going to say the faculty, was relatively empty due to overnight timing, and the initial reports indicate no injuries or fatalities at the embassy itself. Isn't that great? The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh has been closed to the public, canceled all consular appointments, and issued urgent shelter-in-place alerts for Americans in Riyadh, Judea, and Dhahran. The State Department has also ordered a non-emergency personnel and families to evacuate the several Gulf countries. They're saying if you have a bus, if you have that scene in War Dogs where you have someone named Marlboro, they can kind of traffic you across the Jordanian border or something like that. Get out while you still can, while advising United States citizens across the region to depart immediately amid fears of further attacks. Not to mention the at-home risk, but we don't need to get into all of that. I mean, there's also a broader death toll, if we don't already know about this. U.S. military forces have now confirmed at least 6 American service members have been killed in related Iranian or proxy attacks, including soldiers in logistics units in places like Kuwait. These deaths are adding to mounting casualties as Iran targets U.S. assets and allies hosting American forces across the Middle East. President Trump has described operations against Iran as potentially lasting weeks or longer, as we've covered, with Secretary of State Rubio warning of even more intense phases of strikes ahead. Let's begin.
With the breaking news from the Middle East, Iran is ramping up airstrikes around the region in response to U.S. and Israeli attacks. All Americans are being urged to leave the Middle East. The wave of Iranian airstrikes now prompting U.S. embassies in Iraq, Jordan, and Bahrain.
This is not to say that I was ready to go here for vacation anytime soon, but it is unfortunate that we're just maybe losing I wouldn't have gone to Dubai. I don't want to get arrested for public displays of affection, anything like that. Or chewing gum in public. I've heard that you can get arrested for that if you throw it on the ground or something. I don't know. I understand that. That's how they keep their society so clean. I mean, not clean of, crimes, but clean of, litter. What I'm trying to say is that it's unfortunate to lose the United Arab Emirates probably as a destination. I've heard a lot of people. I had teachers that went to Dubai. It's like, why?
To order non-emergency personnel to leave their posts. In the meantime, the Trump administration is shedding new light on the justification for attacking Iran and where this conflict is heading next. ABC's Marcus Moore continues our coverage from Doha, Qatar, one of the countries now being targeted by Iran.
By the way, whenever you hear someone pronouncing Qatar as Qatar, Qatar is the proper pronunciation. It's even more by the way, that's not even how the Arabs or the people of the region pronounce it. It's just the anglicized pronunciation. So if you are going to anglicize it, Walmartifies it even further to pronounce it Qatar, go ahead and retard yourself up. I will go ahead and live in the middle ground world of anglicizing Middle Eastern words as Qatar.
Marcus, good morning.
Well, hey, Hannah, good morning. There have been new intercepts over Doha this morning, and you can hear the massive and loud booms echoing through the city, and we've seen a wave of airstrikes across the region overnight, targeting Americans and American interests. The Trump administration is responding, saying Iran has yet to see the full scale of this U.S. military operation.
Hell yeah, we're going to have fun.
President Trump vowing to retaliate after the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was hit by Iranian drones. Officials say the embassy, relatively empty at the time, sustained only minor damage. A fire was also reported at the U.S. Embassy in...
By the way, when it comes to minor damage, we do have to remember, these guys are flying RC planes into these structures. The Iranian military is basically a coalition of brown Dennis the Menaces. They are wearing the towels on the head. They look menacing. Do not get me wrong. They look menacing. They look like they're swinging the big curved swords in Aladdin and they're going to cut your hand off for stealing bread from the market. But they do not be deceived. They are little 10-year-old boys. If you pull on their beards, they will literally come off like, you know how in the Little Rascals movie, they dress up like a rabbi to sneak into the bank. It's like 3 kids stacked on top of each other in Spanky. He's got the beard on and then the guy pulls it and then it just like shows it that it's just a kid's face underneath. If you went up to every one of the Iranian military's officials and pulled on their beards, it would be 3 brown kids standing in a jacket. And they are little Dennis the Menaces, and they are flying. It is important to remember, I saw the apartment complex one where they flew one into an apartment complex. I can't remember. I think it was... Let me look at my globe. I can't remember. It might have been Saudi Arabia. It might have been United Arab Emirates. I don't know. But it was... They flew one of these drones into an apartment building. No one was killed. Actually, no, that's incorrect. A lot of people were killed. Anyway, guys, what I'm trying to say is that yes, some people will die because admittedly, Dennis the Menace gets dangerous. Admittedly, I don't think Mr. Wilson should have survived some of his pranks. When he replaced his aspirin with rat poison or something, I thought he was going to go, and I thought that was going to be the end of the movie. But whatever. What I'm trying to say is that the Iranian military, while they feel mighty and whatnot, it's going to take an Al-Qaeda level threat to take down another building, is what I'm saying.
It was in that country where the Pentagon says 6 American service members were killed and 18 others were injured during an Iranian attack on a tactical operations center. U.S. officials vowing to ramp up attacks.
The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now.
Chaotic scenes playing out across the Middle East. At least 11 countries are now involved in this expanding conflict.
We're blowing shit up.
Shot down 2 Iranian bombers, the first report of Iran sending warplanes into Qatari airspace. The State Department is now urging all Americans to leave the Middle East, quote, due to serious safety risks. But much of the region's airspace is on lockdown. Flight trackers show just how many flights are avoiding the area.
You're fine?
Video circulating online shows a U.S. pilot shot down over Kuwait being approached by locals.
Thank you for helping us.
3 U.S. fighter jets were shot down by friendly fire. All crew members survived after ejecting. The U.S. has now carried out nearly 2,000 strikes in Iran across at least 50 locations.
Look at us go.
Explosions ripping through Tehran as stealth bombers dropped 2,000-pound bombs on underground facilities.
Because we like to have fun.
Destroyed. Multiple Iranian Navy ships sunk.
Yeah.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard headquarters leveled. The major focus, Iran's missile launchers and those deadly one-way attack drones, which are now wreaking havoc across the Gulf.
There's the apartment building! There it is! I don't know if I think people died in it. There it is! I'll put this in the description.
Havoc across the Gulf.
Boo! Yeah, that was awesome.
Overnight, Central Command releasing new video showing U.S. strikes on Iranian ballistic missile launchers. But analysts say Iran still has thousands of missiles in its arsenal. President Trump saying, quote, we haven't even started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon. The president not ruling out...
Guys, this is a movie. This is a movie, and you have to have fun. You have to have fun, otherwise you have to laugh. Otherwise, you're gonna go crazy. You have to look at the apartment complex, and you gotta go, well, it doesn't look like anybody died. You know what I mean? I didn't hear any screaming. You know, listen, I think that there were no newborns. We're good. That's all I wanted to say.
Ground troops in Iran, adding the U.S. is prepared for a prolonged conflict.
Whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes. Right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
But leaders within the administration say this will not be like previous wars in the Middle East.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president.
Our generation knows better.
You're not going to have an endless war because
Don't ever say your generation knows better. Don't ever. I know that I did literally earlier this episode when I say that my generation knew better on certain details, and they were more willing to go with things like Pizzagate. But listen, and Pizzagate, not in the terms of like the furthest extent, but they're at least willing to admit that Anthony Weiner's laptop is a thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say that most of Gen Z is into that, because I'm going to be honest with you, most of Gen Z is still like the blindly, oh, I support Trump because my dad supports him, and I love Andrew Tate and I love Nick Fuentes, and that's why I support Donald Trump. And honestly, even Nick Fuentes is a little bit turning against Donald Trump right now. He's like, fuck the Republicans because they're not giving us anything that we really want. You should vote for Democrats in the midterms. And it's like, okay, weird switch up. That's just bizarre, honestly, to see. But anyways, Kamala Harris then also is like that activated like a lot of people in my age group. So I'm just going to say people who were inspired by the Kamala Harris campaign, the joy, the like, oh, dad, Menard's guy as the vice president, people who were emboldened, like, this was my first campaign that I got aware and I got into it. Like, she was a campaign that energized a lot of people. I'm not saying that I'm any more hopeful for my generation that we're going to be unfooled by tricks and schemes and like plots. Never claim that your generation is above it. You're probably not.
First point that we've been, and Iran, this terror regime in Iran is the weakest point that it's been here since it hijacked Iran from the brave Iranian people 47 years ago. So this is going to be a quick and decisive action.
Another big concern right now is the price of oil. We have seen refineries across the region come under attack, and now Iran is vowing to attack any ship that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Keep in mind, 20% of the world's oil supply passes through that channel, so a prolonged disruption could have a major impact on prices. But now, so far, we have not seen a huge impact on the markets. But Sophie, the longer this drags on, the higher the risk.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of the Strait of Hormuz, actually, we'll just get into the rapid-fire section of today's headlines, because there's a lot of stuff that we need to cover in order to keep your media diet healthy that we can't honestly dedicate a lot of time to for every other little thing. But we're just going to cover the Strait of Hormuz here really quick in order to actually just get into the shit. You know what I mean? There's U.S. Domestic political backlash over the Iranian war powers. Obviously, you know about that. Republicans are defending President Donald Trump's authority to launch strikes against Iran. Democrats have criticized the administration for insufficient justification. They're pushing for congressional war powers vote. Congressional briefings on the conflict's legality and scopes are underway amid the deep partisan disagreement. Let's cover this brief clip here about the Strait of Hormuz, just to give everybody as much in-depth detail. It does have a visual element. If you need it, I will put it in the description and you can watch it.
The war on Iran is jeopardizing the entire Middle East energy industry. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter, has shut down its Ras Tanura refinery in Saudi Arabia's eastern province following a drone strike from Iran. Qatar, the world's largest exporter of gas, has shut down all of its LNG operations after facilities at Ras Laffan and Masayid were targeted. And a UAE oil platform is reportedly burning in the Gulf after being struck. Iran has made fresh threats against shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, as well as around 20% of the world's oil and gas passing through this narrow waterway. Shipping companies say 10% of the world's containers are now stuck. At least 5 vessels have been attacked in the Gulf by Iran over the past 24 hours.
Well, shoot. Doesn't that suck? Not only that, FBI officials are saying that they're trying to determine whether or not the gunman that we have discussed yesterday, the Austin gunman, who actually is our third story for the today. So we'll cover that later. They're trying to determine whether or not he was an Iranian sleeper cell, whether or not he was radicalized by Iran, whether or not he was trying to get a revenge for the Islamic State. Who knows at this point? Who knows? Might be any of them. Might be any of those cases. We're never going to be able to figure it out. Honestly, it's probably a government plot. We'll never figure it out until 30 years from now. That's just my prediction at this point. You